back to the channel. It's Soph here, one half of Becca and Soph, and today I'm alone because I'm here to tell you about my time in Uganda. For those of you who don't know, I travelled abroad and lived there for a month in 2019, and this was through university, hence why it's relevant to the channel. And I just want to let you know what I got up to, why I chose to go to Uganda, and why I think you should too. It was in second year that I came across the charity East African Playgrounds, and I found out about them at the society fair at my university. I think this mainly caught my eye because, to be honest, my two older cousins have both volunteered in Uganda. It kind of felt like a natural thing for me to do, and I just was willing to hear more, so obviously walked over to the stand, and the more they told me about it, the more I wanted to get involved. A bit about my time between the September of signing up to the challenge and the July of actually flying out to Uganda. So of course there are a lot of admin things to be done, such as getting your yellow fever certificate, having all the other necessary vaccinations, making sure your passport's up to date, booking your flights, etc. But the main thing I had to do during this time was to fundraise. Now, the charity give you a target of £2,000. This isn't just a loose target, you do have to reach it to be able to go on the trip, because the £2,000 contributes to basically your living expenses whilst you're in Uganda. So the accommodation, the food, the travel, and then I think it also goes towards paying some of the teachers and the staff who are involved. And then finally, of course, as I'll get on to what the actual charity does, but we built a playground, so we had to put that money towards all the metal and all of the tyres and all of the paint and all of the safety equipment. So you really have to work hard to reach the £2,000. It's not an easy goal, especially when you're balancing it alongside your studies. I did start off with things like cake sales and bucket shakes, but I wasn't getting much from this at all. It wasn't an efficient way of raising money, and I kind of had to switch my game up. So instead, I hosted two major events. One of them was a car boot sale. Well, I didn't host it, but I attended one with literally as much stuff as possible. I think I sold almost everything that I took with me, but obviously you've got to haggle, and if you're saying that this money's going towards charity, they did tend to give you more, which was good. So that was really successful. And then another major event that I did was host a pub quiz at my local pub. All my family and friends came. That was a really successful night. There was also a raffle there, and that got me well on my way to the £2,000. Apart from that, in terms of fundraising, it was a bit of a commitment on my part, so no Christmas presents, no birthday presents. All of the money that I would normally get in terms of gifts would just go straight towards my Uganda pot. Any money that I made doing any jobs or any pocket money would all go towards Uganda. And really, for me, I found, especially in the final few months whilst I was revising for my exams, I just did a big push on social media. I did a lot of research into how the charity benefits the children and the communities in Uganda, and I would just push a new story once a week, for example, and do a little countdown, how much of my target I had left to raise. Every time people would donate, I would comment on the Facebook post, thanks so much to this person and this person. And I guess it just kept up the engagement, and it worked. I hit my £2,000. I am really lucky, the help that I got with all my family and friends, but it was a commitment on my part and it was very worthwhile. A bit more about the actual trip and also the charity. So as you can see from my hoodie, East African Playgrounds is the name of the charity. They have now been called Play Action International, I think, and this just broadens their sphere. But essentially what they do is go into Uganda, go into the different communities and find primary schools and secondary schools who don't have any play equipment. So for most people in the UK, we're lucky. We went to these schools and we had a load of climbing frames and swings and apparatus. But in Uganda, they had nothing. The school that I went to was just a derelict field, not even that well kept. So what the charity does is go in with a load of volunteers, we provide all the equipment, and we turn around this brand new playground. It's safe for many years to come. It does get a fresh lick of paint after I think 3 years. So 3 years time after when I went, one of the groups of volunteers will come back to the primary school that I worked at and like rejuvenate it. So you know that your work is going to last for a long time. It's a real true impact, and that's what I love about the charity. As I've mentioned before, I did pay for my own flights. The charity, although they pay for a lot through the money that you raised for them, you have to pay for your own flights. So I flew out with a load of people. I don't think I really knew any of them. A few of them were from my university, but we'd only got to know each other in the briefing meetings. We weren't close friends at all or anything. So for me, it was like a bit of independence, a brand new adventure. I'd never been to Uganda before. And it was quite nice, like building the relationships on the plane out, because everyone's there with the main aim of building this gorgeous playground for the kids. We all obviously have the same like passions and beliefs, so we all unsurprisingly got on really well. I have found 2 friends, especially from my trip to Uganda, who will be lifelong friends. I catch up with them all the time, love them so much, and I would definitely say that's another reason for travelling and volunteering abroad. Now, there is a bit of a taboo about voluntourism, so volunteering / tourism, and it's like, are you going out there to make a useful impact, or are you just going for a bit of a holiday? And trust me, when you go with East African playgrounds, you are not there for a holiday, you are there to work hard. You can pay for an extension on your trip, which I did, and then you do get the holiday and you get to explore the sights of Uganda. But in the period that you are working and volunteering for the charity, like, you are working hard. So just to give you an insight into what we did at the school, we worked in a primary school called Nalin Abbey Primary School. There were about 500 kids of all sorts of ages really, and they, as I mentioned earlier, didn't have a playground. So every morning we would wake up at about 6:30. We would have some breakfast provided to us by the volunteers, and then we'd get out onto the field. Obviously the first thing you want to do is dig all the holes. So obviously physical labour, you've got to kind of be fit and ready to get stuck in. We were digging holes for hours. I remember I'd always get to one point and think, oh, this is enough. And I'd call the guy over and he'd say, keep digging, Sophie. So we were there for hours, but you've got to get really deep to get the poles in. So once you had dug all the holes, we were putting the poles in, and of course everything had to be like security checked. So the charity actually pay for local people in Uganda to be trained like welders, which I think is amazing. So then we were like putting the metal in, putting all the soil back on. We'd have to mix cement ourselves, so manually. In the UK you'll see those cement mixers that do it themselves, but in Uganda they don't have those sort of facilities. So that was a whole other day of literally turning around the things to mix together and make cement. So we'd pop the cement on, and then sort of the apparatus was formed, but it didn't look good, obviously it was just silver. So then we'd get our paintbrushes out. We had a whole load of paint to choose from, and we wanted to be quite creative in how the playground eventually looked. So a couple of things we did in the Ugandan flag colours. A lot of it was like all the different colours of the rainbow. Then on a few of the tyres, we then had a pole up and we created what looked like giraffes and elephants. They were so cute. I'm not very good at painting, so I left some other people to do the intricate parts, but at least I got involved in the main part of it. Overall, we just created a really colourful and safe playground. Everything, as I said, got security tested before the kids went on. We also got a little play first, just to double or triple check. So after a morning of manual labour and working towards the building of this playground, we would have our lunch, and then we would spend the afternoon with the school children. This is called creative play. So as well as the academic work that they do in the classroom, they also come out onto the field with us in the afternoon, and we play all sorts of fun games. Again, East African playgrounds employ a person who goes into the school, and firstly they're really good at speaking both English and the local language to that community, and also they're really creative in terms of the games that they introduce to the kids and to us. So some of these games I'd never played before, and it's just a lot of fun to like interact with firstly the fellow volunteers, but also the school children, and just have a bit of a laugh really. So in the evening it would be a bit of a wind down because of course you get up so early the next morning. So we would have dinner, we would pump some water from the well for the next day, and then perhaps play a few games around a campfire before we went to bed. In terms of sleeping arrangements, if you can call them that, we were in a school classroom. Obviously all the desks and chairs were removed. We were all lined up, I think there were 20 of us, in our sleeping bags under mosquito nets and just trying to get the best sleep that we could. Obviously no electricity, no Wi-Fi, no running water, so make of that what you will. I would say for me, obviously having not experienced that before, it grounded me a lot. When I came home, I like cried when I saw my bed and carpet, because you can just see the two different things and the contrast in between. It made me appreciate life way more. It also showed me we don't necessarily need all these fancy things to get by. One main thing that the charity do enforce is that Uganda's not a sad place. It's not just children who are poor and sad families who are deprived. Obviously some areas are worse than others, but in general the culture that I saw, and trust me, we were exposed to the real Uganda, we weren't like sheltered. Everyone was happy, they had hope. I think that's the main word that came about a lot, and their love for play and music was phenomenal and something that I will always remember. Now we come to playground open day. So we'd worked hard for 2 weeks and the group before us had spent 2 weeks on the playground as well. We all came together, we invited the headmistress and all of the teachers out, and then all the children came out. They did some traditional Ugandan songs and dances for us, and then we tried to reciprocate. We had some like bunting around the playground, counted down, and then released the bunting, and all the kids could run in, and their excitable screams and their smiley faces were just incredible. I think what I loved the most is we built 2 seesaws, and I would say probably at least 10 kids lined up and sat along the seesaw. They didn't quite know how it worked, but just to see them like embrace this new thing on their turf essentially so quickly was amazing, and they were so grateful. And for me it's just such a happy day. It was probably the best day of my life. After they kind of got used to the apparatus and went down the slides and swings and everything, it was very much a celebration of like everything that had gone on and all of our collaborations. So lots of like dancing and singing and chanting, and all in all just a very happy day. So aside from spending time on the playground, we also took part in a gorilla trek. We actually did this before our time on the playground, but some people who go on the experience with East African playgrounds do it the other way around. It just depends how it all works out operationally. So in terms of the trek, you are essentially trekking for I think 5 to 7 days to eventually get to a gorgeous rainforest with gorillas, and obviously they're endangered, there's not many of them left, and I was very lucky to eventually arrive there and be in the presence of 5 gorillas, a family of 5 as well, which was lovely. So in terms of the trekking, it was on all sorts of terrain and we were exposed to all sorts of weather. You may think that Uganda is constantly sunny, but it's in fact not. We did have some great downpours. So we walked for miles each day. We also were in these kind of DIY kayaks. Ours was called Peas in a Pod or something like that, which always makes me smile because that's now what me and my 2 friends like call each other, Peas in the Pod. A lot of walking, a lot of traveling in those, and a lot of like climbing. It was very hilly, especially when it's raining. It was not fun to like slide down the mountains and all the mud, and it was quite a physical challenge, I would say, as I mentioned earlier, through all sorts of terrain. But eventually we arrived at this gorgeous rainforest where we were in the presence of the gorilla family. So We trekked through and then all the way down into like the deep dark bit of the jungle, and we had to sit and obviously be really quiet and still. And then eventually, when they got used to humans being around us, the gorillas came over and just lived their daily life, but just right in front of our eyes. I would say 2 meters away. Although I do have the most amazing photos and videos of it, I tried not to go on my phone too much and just take it in, because being that close to an endangered species is not something that I will probably do much again. I'll be lucky if I do, but I might not. So it was a really special moment and a rare moment, and I just wanted to take it in. But I'm just telling you about the trek because it's another amazing thing that you can do with the charity. I'd 100% recommend, and it will give you lifelong memories that you will treasure forever. Finally, I just want to talk about the final few days after all of the hard work and the trekking. So I paid for an extended trip so that I got to experience Uganda in its true form. So of course we went on the mopeds, we went to some of the hotels, and we went to one actually, and a music video is being shot there, which I thought was insane, just that we were able to witness it whilst we were like on our rest day. I also did things like quad biking and kayaking in the River Nile with unlimited gin, which was incredible. Best day. And then finally, my extended trip was mainly for a safari. A number of us got to go on the safari, and it was really nice that luckily the 2 friends that I'd made were also booked on it as well. And we got to see all sorts of animals, but my favourites were the elephants and the giraffes. Again, we got to be really close to those, and it was just breathtaking, really, something that I'll never forget. I absolutely loved my time in Uganda, and I would recommend it to anybody, particularly through this charity, because of the amazing impact that they have. They've now built almost 400 playgrounds, and that has impacted over 500,000 school children, which I think is fabulous. The charity as a whole have really good morals, and in terms of sustainability and ethics, I think they're like on a very high standard. So I definitely check them out, and if you can through your university, volunteer with them, because it was the best time of my life. If you have any questions about what to pack or what to expect if you are going on an expedition to Uganda, or indeed anywhere around the world, please do comment below. And if you want to know any more stories about my time there, also leave a comment. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Becca is going to tell you, I think in a few months, about her time on Warwick ski trip, which also sounded fantastic. And make sure to check out any videos that you haven't already on stuff like university, sixth form and careers. Thanks for watching. Bye!